A bright, colorful toy box sitting under a mid-century Christmas tree. A premium gift meant for children. A simple consumer trend put raw, unshielded uranium directly onto family living room rugs. The year is 1950. The atomic age is in full swing and society is completely obsessed with a nuclear future. Energy companies are promising electricity too cheap to meter, and science fiction is dominating the silver screen. In this world of unchecked optimism, parents want their kids to have the ultimate competitive edge. Enter the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab. It's a sleek, expensive, premium educational kit packed in a beautifully black fabric-bound suitcase. It's marketed as a clean, sophisticated tool for future engineers. But inside the box, nestled right next to a miniature comic book, are 4 glass vials containing real, unshielded uranium ore. Today, the idea of handing a child raw nuclear material sounds like madness, but the drift happened because mid-century regulations were completely blind to invisible hazards. The toy developers genuinely believed that low-level exposure was entirely benign and even educational. Instruction manuals encouraged young kids to pull out the included Geiger counter and play a game of hide-and-seek with radiation around their house. Children handled the vials, tracked the radioactive particles using a miniature cloud chamber, and left the materials scattered across playroom carpets. And this was the fork in the road. If the kit takes off and becomes a cheap, mass-market staple, millions of households become low-level radiation zones. Instead, the toy's massive price tag of nearly $50, a fortune at the time, doomed it to a swift commercial failure. They traded educational progress for a terrifying domestic gamble, never realizing that their ultimate luxury toy was a ticking health hazard. The next year, the expensive toy sets are quietly pulled from department store shelves due to low sales. Medical experts begin sounding the alarm on domestic radiation exposure. The next decade, public panic over nuclear fallout shifts from the battlefield to the grocery shelf. The government begins investigating chemical and physical hazards in consumer products. 10 years later, the Child Protection and Toy Safety Act is officially signed into law, and toy manufacturers are legally blocked from using hazardous, toxic, or radioactive substances in household goods. Every decade, a new electronic gadget or high-tech toy goes into mass production. The components are screened, the materials are verified, and the child is kept safe. We look back at the 50s and shake our heads at how naive they were. But human nature really hasn't changed. Whenever a revolutionary new technology hits the mainstream market, we rush to bring it into our homes. Blinded by the novelty and the trend, we trust the labels blindly, assuming someone else has already done the safety checks. True safety isn't about halting progress. It's about remembering that just because a trend is premium, high-tech, and heavily marketed doesn't necessarily mean it belongs in your living room. But what if that atomic kit had been cheap to produce? It becomes the must-have toy of the decade, selling millions of units into middle-class homes across the country. Without the natural barrier of that high price tag, an entire generation grows up sleeping just a few feet away from raw radioactive elements, forgotten in toy chests and closets. The long-term healthcare fallout forces a sudden massive collapse of consumer trust in the toy industry. High-end science kits are completely banned, stifling real engineering education for decades. The atomic toy was a bizarre, short-lived mistake, but it forced society to finally look past the slick marketing of new tech and demand strict boundaries between commercial novelty and domestic safety. Would you trust the safety testing of anything on a store shelf today if we hadn't learned that lesson? And that's the ripple of a radioactive toy. The few surviving Gilbert atomic labs are locked behind glass cases today, highly prized collector's items that serve as a surreal reminder of a time when the invisible danger came inside a toy box. So what about you? What's the most genuinely dangerous and questionable toy you can remember playing with as a kid? Share it in the comments below, and if you would like to explore more of these ripples in history and in life, please hit subscribe and join me next time on The Ripple Trace.